What's happening, my fellow geeks and geekettes? Welcome to a brand new episode of Cosplay Chris, and today's video is going to be a very in-depth, detailed video of the breakdown of my brand new Hellboy cosplay. So over the weekend was Supernova Melbourne 2019, where I premiered this cosplay, and it was one of the funnest weekends I have had at a con in a long time. The overall reception of the costume was amazing. Everyone was just so cool and complimentary. So a massive thank you to everyone that came up, had a chat, checked out the costume, talked shop, all that jazz. You guys were amazing. Secondly, a massive thank you to Roadshow and Playmaker Digital for giving me the opportunity to build this costume. Granted, I had only 4 weeks to do it. I had the help of some amazing artists, and I will be thanking them and showing you their amazing contributions to this costume throughout the video. So it's just been over 4 weeks since I got the call from Playmaker Digital that Roadshow had given me the okay, the all clear to start work on this Hellboy costume based off David Harbour's Hellboy for the upcoming Hellboy movie that actually comes out this week here in Australia. So I will be attending the premiere this Wednesday night. I'm so excited. The film looks amazing. From an engineering standpoint, the costume was a nightmare, and logistically, because you do run the risk with working on a costume in such a short time frame that some pieces do not arrive. And one certain piece or pair did not arrive. I will show you guys exactly what they are, but they actually are here now, so I can wear them. You know what they are. I can wear them for the demonstration at the end of this video. So essentially the purpose of this video is to go through each and every piece of the costume, show you how it was made, what I used, stuff like that, and then I'm going to put the full costume on and show you guys a full demonstration. I also have my good friend Cliff, who is known as Press Photog, who is an amazing photographer, coming over today to snap some photos of the costume in action. So obviously I want to recreate David Harbour's Hellboy as closely and as faithfully as possible. This rendition is a lot more grittier and a lot more darker. Granted, Ron Perlman's is very clean and cut. It's still an amazing representation of the character, but David Harbour's I honestly do prefer because he's got chest hair, he's got scars, he's very gruff and roughed up and just a lot more grounded in reality. So like I said, the task at hand was to make a good representation of David Harbour's Hellboy, but also keeping this costume very practical because I was at the Hellboy activation booth at Supernova throughout the weekend. The staff were absolutely amazing, but you want to also have that element of comfort in the costume whilst also looking good. So we're going to be starting from the ground up with this costume. So first and foremost, the boots. Now, the boots are the pieces that did not arrive in time. They actually arrived the day I landed in Melbourne. I literally landed in Melbourne, got a message from Mum. She goes, "You got a parcel here, I think it's the boots." I'm like, wunderbar. So for the weekend, I actually used my Captain Boomerang / Casey Jones / Crow boots. They did the job. So the actual boots that I got are these fellas here. This is a lot closer to what David Harbour wears in the film. So these are straight out of the box. I have done no weathering to them whatsoever. So I will do that later this week to fully complete the costume, but for now, you guys get the idea. Now, in terms of the pants, from what I can see, David Harbour just wears pretty basic black tactical pants, and I found some that were, you know, pretty close in terms of the big oversized side pockets. I actually got this from a camping / surplus utilities kind of store here in Sydney in the CBD. It doesn't really have a brand, I don't know if the brand is 5.11, but it says 5.11 tactical, and those are the ones that I use. I'm usually a size 32 in pants. I actually had to go a size up, obviously, because of the muscle torso, because it just puts your gut out just a bit. Weathering these, it was exactly like the Red Hood jacket, just dragging it along the ground. I actually took to it with an angle grinder and a disc sander to really rough up the edges of the pockets and everything, as you can see right there. So actually that's something that I do a lot now. If I have to weather or distress a jacket or pants or items of clothing that have really strong hems and stuff like that, I do attack it with an angle grinder or a mouse / disc sander. Now, seeing as though we're going in order, there is a hole in the back here for the tail. And this is the tail. Now, what I used for the base of the tail was actually in the plumbing section of Bunnings. It's literally a squishy black piece of foam doweling. So you can see how squishy it is. I think it's for putting pieces of pipe and stuff like that. It sort of acts as insulation. So what I did is I actually got some expanding foam, some R foam, which is what I use for the Michael Myers hands, and put it at the top of the foam, and then cut it when it cured, and then I attacked it on the bench grinder and then ground down the shape of the tail. Now, in terms of the red coating, that is tinted FlexiCast 45 urethane that I painted over it in 2 coats and gave it a nice even coating. The black weathering, shoe polish. So pretty simple. Another cool story, you guys can see that. See that right there? That's a fly. That is a fly that got caught in the urethane as it was curing, and I thought it'd be funny to just leave it in there. It's a good story. Now the stopper itself is actually made of 2 pieces of like aerated kind of foam core. So there are 2 pieces. The tail base glues to the first layer, and then I made a ring with the second layer, slid it on, and then put more glue around it. So it literally just threads through the pants like so. And of course we've got the stopper on the inside. And the good thing is it has this real good weight to it, and it kind of moves like a real tail. It's pretty impressive actually. I couldn't believe how well it just hangs and the way gravity affects it. So pretty simple, but it does the job. Okay, the belts. Oh man, there's a lot going on here. Okay, so this is just the basic black belt that threads through the tactical pants. Just attacked it with sandpaper, nothing real fancy right there. The belt that houses the Good Samaritan and the ammo, again, it's just a leather belt. These are actually plastic pieces of ammo that I had lying around from the Red Hood build. Now in terms of the holster for the Good Samaritan, that was just a spare piece of brown vinyl I had lying around, and I kind of doubled up on it and double plied it. And it was just seriously eyeballing it. And the Good Samaritan is housed backwards, so obviously David Harbour can't get the Good Samaritan out with his right-handed doom, so he has to use his left hand, pull it out like so. This pouch here came from a surplus store, as well as these 2 other pouches here that I'll show you in a tick, putting the insignia on there, and again, it was just a mixture of actually the disc sander, the angle grinder, and sandpaper to weather this portion of the belt. Now this belt here has a lot more going on. I've got the rosary beads that I bought from the market, some more pouches. These are actually German pouches, as well as this piece here. All came from the same military surplus store in the CBD here in Sydney. Same base brown belt, again, all attacked with sandpaper and the disc sander, just to find that happy medium. And there actually was a wash of shoe polish put over these pouches here, and then reattacked it with sandpaper just to give it that nice leathery texture. Now I showed you guys in the announcement video the raw prints of the Good Samaritan and the right-handed doom, and here they are, finished in all their glory. First off, the Good Samaritan. So the base for this obviously was a lot of primer filler to get rid of those print lines, because it was printed in PLA by Miles, aka Flux Electronics. This file actually came from an artist on Instagram, so that was pretty handy because there are no other real files of the Good Samaritan, the David Harbour Good Samaritan out there at the moment. So the base black was just a matte black from Rust-Oleum, and this was a dark chocolate brown from Rust-Oleum for the handle. And in terms of detailing the body, it was just dry brushing that Model Masters chrome silver that I use a lot for custom collectibles. So putting as little paint as I can on a big brush and just literally wiping it over the whole thing, just so it picks up the detail on the body of the gun itself. And it is a beautiful piece, and it's just, like I said, a goddamn hand cannon. Now, the right-handed doom. Like I said in the previous video, we managed to get a scan of David Harbour in his full Hellboy getup. So we extracted the right-handed doom portion of the file and printed that. We had to scale it obviously to my proportions because David Harbour is like 6'3" and he's a beast. So like the Good Samaritan, it was printed to PLA, so a lot of primer filler just to get rid of those print lines. In terms of the red, it was just a dark cherry red from Rust-Oleum. And then for the detail, shoe polish and the Testors Creator Effects ink, the black ink. Just going in all the details there, and then the entire thing was sealed up with a matte sealer. I don't know if you guys can see on the inside there how good the lighting is. There is a piece of wooden doweling in there that acts as a handle, so you literally just grip to actually this part here of the right-handed doom. It just makes it a lot easier to carry this thing around as opposed to actually slipping your fingers in the finger portions there, because you do sweat in this costume and it gets quite slippery in there. It's pretty gnarly. Okay, we're working our way up. Let's talk about the trench coat. So I actually ended up acquiring 3 trench coats. The first one was a absolute and utter disaster. I bought this trench coat off eBay. I don't even have it in the room at the moment because it's just, I don't even want to, it's disgusting. It's up in the workshop. Bought it off eBay, it arrived from China, and it was just the most inaccurate thing I've ever seen. Just completely different to the photos. The material that they used was like a polyester type thing, so it just felt very fake. And I got a extra large to accommodate for the muscles. And I think that because there is a conversion in certain countries with sizing, it was actually a medium for me. So I put it on, it was even tight on me, so I didn't even bother putting the muscle suit on and trying the coat on, so I just completely wrote that one off. The second coat I had tailored by a very talented tailor here in Sydney by the name of Cliff. He is a good family friend of ours, and he does a lot of costuming work, so he managed to tailor this coat with screenshots and everything using actual German canvas. And the funny thing about David Harbour's trench coat is it changes a lot from, say, this color to an olive green in certain shots. So Cliff put this together as quickly as he could, and it is a beautiful coat. Like, I really do love it. Did all the weathering and whatnot. It gives you this nice added hit of bulk in the shoulders. The day before I left Melbourne, I had already purchased another coat off AliExpress about a week prior. And I was asking them, you know, what's the quickest you can get it here? Because it seemed like the closest representation of David Harbour's trench coat. I didn't think it was going to arrive in time. I was going to use Cliff's amazing coat. Lo and behold, the day before I leave, when I'm finalizing everything on the costume, this coat arrives. And this is actually the coat I ended up going with. It has that nice olive green. It has the bureau swatch on the side here, like he does in the film. The only thing is, I didn't have enough time to remove the silk lining, except in this sleeve here, but it doesn't really matter. So look, these are both equally amazing coats. So it is one of those things where I do definitely have the option to use this one or this one, but this is the one I went with during the weekend. And also it's a bit lighter in terms of the heavy German canvas, but this is just still a beautiful piece right here. It actually is a nice canvas, so I couldn't believe it. This was $180 off AliExpress. It's a beautiful coat. Both of them do have the split up the back, so the tail can fit through. All right, let's move on to the left hand. So with Ron Perlman and David Harbour, they actually just airbrushed and painted the actor's actual hands, whereas if I were to do that, it'd just be too tricky and just quite gross if I want to go to the toilet and wash my hands, and you know, it would eventually come off. So what do I do instead? Make a quick slip-on, slip-off platinum silicone glove. So the first step was to make a casting of my hand. So it was just a matter of molding my hand in alginate. It is a life casting seaweed based product. A lot of dentists use it. Takes about 3 minutes to cure. I then poured in some gypsum stone plaster and got a really damn nice casting of my hand. Now, unfortunately, because of the time frame, I did not have time to sculpt something and then do a mold and then do a matrix mold and inject the silicone. It's just way too fiddly, and this is something you need months to do. So I did something quick and dirty. I painted layers and layers of Platsil Gel 00. This is the stuff right here. I get it from Barnes. It is an amazing platinum silicone. So like I said, it was just a matter of brushing on, I think I did 7 or 8 coats of Platsil Gel 00 tinted red. And this is the end result. Literally, it is just like a glove. Once it was all fully cured, just peeled it off the hand casting itself. So this is the hand in all its glory. I don't know how well you guys can see with the light, but in this portion here, there is actually a piece of stocking that I embedded in the silicone in the first couple of layers to add some strength when slipping the glove on and off. Now the nails, originally I was going to, you know, get a fake nail kit, grind them down, make sure they're shaped like, you know, David Harbour's nails, how they got that really dark, almost pretty much black look to them, but it's like a dark red in terms of the nails. But nothing wants to stick to silicone but silicone. Even with silicone adhesive, it just wouldn't adhere the acrylic. So I got some black caulking silicone, and it's a pretty rough job, but it honestly is so efficient. It does the trick. Just slip it on. Like so, there you go. And it moves like a real hand. There's no real buckling like latex, and it really is an amazing silicone to work with. And of course, we've got the beads and jewelry pieces that he wears in the film. So yeah, I wanted to go to about there because there are gonna be times where, you know, I put my hands up and the coat kind of comes down to there and just be a weird illusion ruiner. All right, we're moving on to the final 2 pieces that really tested me as a costumer. So let's talk about the torso. The torso was an absolute and utter logistical and engineering nightmare. So you guys know that the mask is made out of platinum silicone, and this piece here is made out of urethane. So the base muscles came from Lee Hurley. Now Lee Hurley is an amazing cosplayer and effects artist. He does stellar work, and he actually offers muscle kits. Muscle kits that usually go into Batflex suits, stuff like that, to be used, to be covered up by fabric. But I love the look of his muscle kit. It just had that chiseled rock look. Like I always picture Hellboy as, he's kind of like chiseled from molten rock, something like that. So this here is what the muscles look like raw. It is a polyfoam from BJB, so in other words, it's urethane but in foam form. So common sense is nothing wants to stick to urethane but urethane, much like silicone. But I tried brushing on FlexiCast 45 urethane, the exact same stuff I brushed on the tail, and it just peeled straight off. So what I had to get was actually a urethane primer from Barnes. This stuff is SC92. It is a coating you put on urethane products and it actually prepares it for painting and actually helps whatever you paint it with stick a lot better, and also other urethane products. And if you're wondering why these pieces are raw, they're covered by the trench coat. This is the only piece that's gonna be on show. And I actually have some Velcro tabs here and some Velcro tabs on the trench coat, so the trench coat actually stays put like that. So like I said, the only thing you see pretty much if the wind doesn't pick up is this piece right here. So I brushed on 3 coats of tinted red FlexiCast 45, and it was pretty nerve-wracking because this either is going to make or break the cosplay, because this is essentially the centerpiece right up there with the silicone mask, of course. The only thing I've found is that where the belts are, they've rubbed a bit and the urethane is starting to lift. So the way I see it, that urethane prepper primer coating that I got essentially just buys time. I guess if it is being used and roughed up a lot, it will eventually peel off, but as long as this portion here is fine, we're all good. So the muscles themselves are mounted onto a morph suit. A morph suit I got off eBay. So the actual contact adhesive that I use is from Sika. It's the premium contact adhesive you can get from Bunnings. This stuff actually dries pretty quick. You obviously have to coat both pieces first, let them get tacky, and then stick them together. And yeah, I've got a hole so I can go to the toilet. I wear underwear under it, don't worry. I'll just show you guys the back as well, because this is pretty interesting. As you see here, this is how much I was experimenting with getting the red onto the urethane. So this is another type of urethane. This is F140, I think. As you can see, it just peels right off. I just didn't want to barb it. This stuff here is actually liquid latex. It just peels right off. Doesn't want to barb it. Urethane is one of the hardest things in the world to paint. So Lee's muscle kit actually came with the legs as well, but I didn't really need them because from what I've seen of David Harbour's look, his legs are a lot smaller than the rest of his body. He's kind of top heavy. So I just used, of course, the torso portion, the deltoids slash biceps. We've also got the traps that go down into the back muscles as well, just to give some bulk at the back once the silicone mask is on. And the silicone mask itself is amazing, and I'll show you guys that in a bit. That's the last portion of the costume, because the silicone mask has these traps built into it, so it all kind of blends in together really nicely, and the movement is amazing. You know, you can do full shoulder rolls in this thing, so Lee's done an amazing job with these muscle kits. If you guys are doing something like a Batfleck or Superman, something like that, is a good basis for a undersuit for the muscle structure. Now there is a cavity in the chest there with Velcro, and that is for the bib of the silicone mask to rest down in there and Velcro in place. So like I said, you want practicality with a costume like this because you need to get in and out as quickly as possible, because it does get very hot in that mask and the bodysuit, of course. So the bib of the silicone mask slots down in there and Velcros in place, and also anchors it so you can turn your head much like the Batfleck suit. Okay, last but not least, the platinum silicone mask. This piece was made by O'Neill Effects, and he's having a bad hair day at the moment because it's not mounted on a mannequin. This mask is a beautiful piece of engineering, costume engineering, special effects engineering. So like I said, it is made from a platinum silicone. It feels very fleshy. And you see there, that's the Velcro tab that anchors down into the torso. And the way that I actually adhered this is with a very special silicone adhesive that I got from Barnes. Like I said, nothing wants to stick to silicone but silicone. But if you really embed this stuff in the back of the Velcro, stick it down, it really does stick there. It's not going anywhere. When I got this mask, it had no hair on top because it was based off Ron Perlman's look, and obviously David Harbour has a full head of hair on top. So I had to style a wig, do a lot of cutting and everything, and again, use this silicone adhesive to adhere it to the mask itself. Style the hair as best as I could. I even sprayed a light brown in certain areas because David Harbour does actually have a mixture of very light brown hair, even at the ends of his hair pieces on his appliances. I did go back in and do some detailing and darkening of the horns or the crumpets on his head. They really do look like crumpets. The hardest thing was to match the silicone to the urethane torso because they're two completely different materials, completely different characteristics, and completely different in terms of the way the light hits them. So it was tricky. I think I got there in the end. There are some photos from the weekend of Supernova. I think that looks great. It looks like it's blended together. Then there's other photos where the torso looks really washed out. So it's one of those things where you really can't avoid it if you are using different materials. If I was using platinum silicone on the torso, it would have been a lot easier to match it up and have it look great. But for the most part, I'm pretty happy with the end result. And you guys will see that in the video of how it all works and how it all looks under different lighting circumstances. So the mask itself actually is backed up with a kind of mesh nylon netting throughout the mask itself, especially the mouth area and the eye area where there is a lot of stress. But once you put this thing on, it just snaps back onto your face, especially with the eyes. So I do use contact lenses, use blaring red contact lenses, and also some red eye makeup. Much like the panda eyes for when you put on a cowl to become Batman, it just kind of helps everything blend in together, and that way you can't see your skin color through the eye holes here, because you still do see a little bit of your actual skin. So O'Neill Effects is on Etsy, and you can get one of these masks there, and he does offer other products, and he came through so quickly given the short time frame. So he did an amazing job, and I'm so happy with the end result, because it's all about the personality and the persona with this cosplay, because Hellboy is a character in his own. He's out there, he's fighting the underworld, stuff like that. So you've really got to have a personality showing through. And these platinum silicone masks are game changers in terms of cutting, 3 hours, 6 hours off from putting prosthetics on. And obviously there was no time whatsoever to make prosthetics for this build. And I needed something that you can take on and off quickly and as efficiently as possible. So guys, that is a full breakdown of the Hellboy costume. Like I said, we only had 4 weeks to do it, but we got there in the end. So I want to thank the amazing Ben Ball of Benable Effects for helping me. He helped me make a duct tape mannequin to give me a basic form of my body shape, just to make sure the costume was definitely going to fit me and be in proportion with my 5'9" frame. Massive thank you to Miles, aka Flux Electronics, for printing the Right Hand of Doom and the Good Samaritan. Lee Hurley for that amazing muscle kit. Of course, O'Neill Effects for that mask. So gentlemen, thank you very much for all your help, and of course Cliff for quickly tailoring that beautiful trench coat. So what I'm going to do now is show you guys how I put the costume on, how certain pieces look before it all comes together. And like I said, I've got my good friend Cliff, aka Press Photog, coming over to get some really good up close, detailed, dynamic photos of the costume. Guys, it has been the most hellish, pun intended, not really. It's been one of the most challenging 4 weeks of my life. I've learned a lot, I've failed a lot, but like I said, if you're not failing, you're not doing it right. A massive thank you to Playmaker Digital and Roadshow for giving me this incredible opportunity. I've never been tested so much in my life with this, but I wouldn't have had it any other way, because I had a lot of support, I had a lot of amazing artists come through and contribute to this piece. And of course, a massive thank you to everyone at Supernova, my amazing cosplay family. You guys were just so cool throughout the weekend. So guys, I'm gonna leave you now with some montage footage of suiting up, demonstrating how the suit works. I hope you appreciate it, and I hope you appreciate all the work that went into it. A lot more Crow stuff coming up now that I have a clear slate and a clear schedule. Now that all the Hellboy work is over, looking very forward to seeing Hellboy this Wednesday night. Probably do a review for that. Still on a high after Shazam. That was just such an experience and a half, and I'm so glad it's doing so well at the box office and also with the critics. Guys, wherever you are in the world, have yourselves a cracker of a day. I hope you're well, hope you're happy, be merry, be silly, and until next time, geeks, please always remember, cosplayers do it best.